Right now, somewhere in your house, there's a tube of minty gel, a plastic brush with soft nylon bristles, and probably a bottle of mouthwash for good measure. It's such a mundane part of your morning that you barely think about it. But strip all of that away. No toothpaste, no toothbrush, no dentist down the street, no fluoride, no floss, not even a mirror to check your work. Now ask yourself, how did humans keep their teeth for tens of thousands of years without any of it? You'd assume the answer is they didn't. That ancient people just walked around with rotting, blackened stumps in their mouths. And for some periods of history, that's closer to the truth than you'd like. But for most of human existence, the story is stranger, more resourceful, and honestly a little bit disgusting. Let's dig in. Here's the twist. Some ancient skeletons, thousands of years old, have been found with teeth in better condition than a lot of modern smiles. Not because ancient humans got lucky, because they were doing something. Chewing, scraping, rubbing, picking. A whole toolkit of dental care improvised from twigs, ash, salt, and cloth, refined by trial and error across dozens of civilizations, long before anyone had heard of a dentist. So what did ancient humans actually use instead of a toothbrush? Let's go civilization by civilization and find out. The original toothbrush, chew sticks. Let's start with the single most widespread ancient dental tool, one so effective it's still used by over 1 billion people today, the chew stick. Take a fresh twig from a tree with the right properties, often something aromatic and slightly bitter, and chew on one end until it frays into soft, bristle-like fibers. Congratulations, you've just built a toothbrush. Rub that frayed end across your teeth and gums and you get mechanical plaque removal that's shockingly similar to what a modern brush does. This wasn't a one-off invention. Ancient Babylonians were using chew sticks as far back as 3500 BCE. The ancient Egyptians had their own version. In many cultures across Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, one particular chew stick, cut from the Salvadora persica tree, often called the toothbrush tree, became so trusted that it's still sold today under the name miswak. And this isn't just folklore. Modern dental researchers have actually studied miswak sticks and found that the wood naturally contains antibacterial compounds, mild abrasives, and even fluoride-like minerals. In other words, ancient people accidentally engineered a toothbrush and toothpaste out of a single twig, purely through observation and repetition. No chemistry lab required. The first toothpaste, ash, salt, and crushed shells. A stick alone gets you mechanical cleaning. But what about polishing? Whitening, freshening. That's where ancient toothpaste comes in, and it's about as far from mint gel as you can imagine. Ancient Egyptian texts dating back to around 5000 BCE describe a tooth powder made from a mixture of crushed rock salt, dried iris flowers, pepper, and mint, all ground into an abrasive paste. Rubbed onto the teeth with a finger or a frayed stick, this mixture scrubbed away surface stains, essentially a primitive scouring powder for your mouth. The ancient Greeks and Romans took a different, slightly creamier route, crushed oyster shells and bones, ground into a fine powder for their abrasive, tooth whitening properties. Some Roman recipes even called for charcoal, burned wood or bone reduced to black powder, which we now know is mildly abrasive and can absorb surface stains, which is exactly why activated charcoal toothpaste has made a strange comeback on store shelves today. And then there's ash. Simple wood ash rubbed directly onto the teeth with a wet cloth or finger was used across multiple ancient cultures. It's alkaline, mildly abrasive, and free. Every household with a fire had an unlimited supply. The uncomfortable truth. Ancient Roman mouthwash. Now, we have to talk about one ancient dental practice that never fails to make people recoil. Roman mouthwash made from human urine. This sounds like an urban legend, but it's well documented. Ancient Romans and some other Mediterranean cultures imported urine, particularly from Portugal, as a commercial commodity for dental hygiene. Why urine? Because it naturally contains ammonia. And ammonia, as any modern cleaning product label will tell you, is a genuinely effective degreaser and whitening agent. Romans would rinse their mouths with it, and some historical accounts suggest it was even used in early dental treatments to help loosen and lighten stains on the teeth. The Roman poet Catullus mockingly wrote about a rival who supposedly brushed his teeth with urine to make them shine, proof that even at the time, people found this practice a little much. Disgusting? Absolutely. Was it also, chemically speaking, not a completely irrational choice for a whitening agent? Also, yes, beyond the Mediterranean, global dental innovations, this wasn't just a Mediterranean phenomenon. Cultures across the globe were independently solving the same problem in their own ways. In ancient China, Texts from as early as 1600 BCE described chewing on twigs, and by around 1000 CE, Chinese innovators had developed something remarkably close to a modern toothbrush, bristles made from hog hair attached to a handle carved from bone or bamboo. When this design eventually made its way to Europe centuries later via trade routes, it directly inspired the modern bristled toothbrush we still use today. In India, the Ayurvedic medical tradition, dating back thousands of years, prescribed daily chewing of neem twigs, a bitter antibacterial wood still used in some natural toothpaste products today, specifically for oral hygiene, alongside tongue scraping using a thin strip of metal or wood to remove bacteria from the tongue's surface, a practice modern dentists now actively recommend. In parts of ancient Mesoamerica, some cultures used chewed plant fibers and even practiced ceremonial tooth filing and inlaying precious stones directly into teeth, showing that dental care wasn't just about function, but also aesthetics and status. When it all went wrong, the dark side of ancient teeth. It's important not to romanticize this too much. For every effective ancient technique, there were long stretches of history where dental health genuinely suffered. The shift to agriculture, roughly 12,000 years ago, was actually a turning point for the worse. Skeletal evidence shows that as human diets shifted from varied hunter-gatherer foods to starchy, grain-heavy agricultural diets, rates of tooth decay and cavities spiked dramatically. More sugar and starch in the diet meant more fuel for the bacteria that cause decay. Medieval Europe, in particular, gets an unfairly bad reputation, but the truth is nuanced. Without refined sugar, which was extremely rare and expensive until sugarcane cultivation expanded, cavity rates were actually lower than you'd expect for much of the medieval period. It wasn't until sugar became cheap and widely available, centuries later, that dental decay truly exploded across entire population. And without modern dentistry, when things did go wrong, an abscess, a rotting tooth, unbearable pain, the solution was often brutal. Extraction with crude tools, no anesthesia, performed by a barber, a blacksmith, or a traveling tooth puller at a market stall. So the picture that emerges isn't ancient humans had terrible teeth, or ancient humans had a secret we've lost. It's something more interesting. For thousands of years, in dozens of separate civilizations that never spoke to each other, people kept independently, arriving at the same basic toolkit: a frayed stick to scrub, an abrasive powder to polish, something antibacterial to fight infection. They didn't have toothpaste tubes or nylon bristles, but they had patience, observation, and a genuine understanding, refined over centuries, of what actually worked. In some ways, that miswak stick from 3500 BCE isn't so different from the electric toothbrush charging on your bathroom counter right now. Same goal, wildly different tools. Which ancient dental hack surprised you the most? The chew stick, the crushed oyster shell polish, or the Roman urine mouthwash? Let me know in the comments below. And if you learned something today, subscribe for more deep dives into how ancient humans actually lived.